City. Say she coming home cause she must
Tiger Books is delighted to announce the acquisition of the Indian publishing rights to Love the Dark Days, a memoir by journalist Ira Mathur from Peepal Tree Press, which is the world's foremost publisher of Caribbean writing. And this morning, I'm really honored to have her back on set with us to discuss the book. Good morning and congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be back here. Thank you.
Now, first of all, let's talk about that acquisition and the launching of it, because I understand that there was a soft launch yesterday.
Yes, it went out to all the Indian, I guess, the literary publishers and to journalists all over India yesterday.
I mean, after winning the OCM Booker's Prize and all that stuff, to still have these things rolling in and to still have it reaching new boundaries, how does it feel?
It feels great, but the greatest feeling is that it comes from the Caribbean. The greatest feeling is that, I mean, when I finished writing, when I had the script and, I took it with trembling hands to Earl Lovelace's house because he taught me.
Yeah.
I used to go to his workshops and I've adored all his books since I've been reading them. And he took 1 month to get back to me. And I thought, if Earl Lovelace does not love this book, it's sunk.
Did he love the book?
Oh, he did.
Nice.
And when he did it, I just felt that it doesn't matter what happens in the world, because I am a Caribbean person. I'm a Tobago girl, believe it or not. I'm absolutely Tobago. So for me, that once Earl loved it, and it became a Caribbean book, I was happy.
And it definitely is become a Caribbean book. But what's interesting is that the story is set in 3 different places.
Yes.
India, England, 4. India, England, St. Lucia, and Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
And it journeys generations of your family.
That's right.
How was the process for writing this? Because the way that you tell the story, it kind of jumps from country to country, it jumps from place to place and from time to time as well. So what was the process like for you in getting this book off the ground?
Painful.
It was therapeutic.
Very therapeutic. I know some people say that writing saves your life. And in a sense it did, because in a way I'm probably more Trinidadian than anybody, because in India, my mother, of course, comes from a Muslim family, my father from a Hindu family. And during partition in 1942, 1 million Indians butchered one another crossing the border between India and Pakistan. And, they had a very tumultuous marriage, which was not approved. And my father was in the Indian army. And, when we went to either side of the family, we never really felt quite accepted. We had a Hindu name and a Muslim name. So when we came to Trinidad, suddenly it just didn't matter if you were 2 religions and you had 3 names. I was called Dolly, but in the army I was called Gulnar by my mother's Muslim family, and I was called Ira by the Hindu family. So over here it just all came together. So it was, I think, being in Trinidad, being in the new world where the old hatreds don't apply, was probably the biggest therapy for me.
And it's very interesting you say that, because the title of it, Love the Dark Days, also comes from a Derek Walcott poem, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely.
How was the experience for you in St. Lucia?
Well, I've got goosebumps now. I think, I've always admired Derek Walcott. And I felt like his Omeros was the Caribbean's answer to Shakespeare. And I remember speaking to him once and saying, we talked a lot, because I did my thesis on slavery when I was in Canada. And, we talked about, how does a society find itself again after such a brutal beginning? People came here as slaves, they came here as indentured laborers. And the worst part of that experience, I think, was because language was stripped of people. Where you came from in generations was stripped. And me from India, I know that, you hear somebody's name and you know where they were for 1,000 years before.
Yeah.
So, there's a huge loss in the sense, but the big gain was for us, because Derek Walcott said to me, he said, we recreate ourselves leaf by leaf. So we recreate ourselves with the landscape. We recreate ourselves with what our bodies remember. Our bodies remember to dance in a way that maybe our ancestors did 1,000 years ago. Our hands remember to drum. And, so it really shows that it's not it's the human experience is not this rational experience, but it comes out of our bodies and our soul and also the DNA of all our ancestors.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think I learned that from Derek, because he told me, leave the old world behind and become part of this new world.
And it's very interesting when we are able to do that, because like you said, it's in our DNA. It's something, as we say, it's in my blood.
Yes.
You know, it's either your blood takes somebody, your blood don't take
Totally.
somebody. Feel things from
Yeah.
the inside, and you just respond and react to it.
Absolutely.
In terms of writing the book itself, compared to doing journalism, compared to writing for the newspaper, for example, is there a marked difference?
It's the absolute opposite.
Oh.
So I had to go and do lots and lots of courses. In fact, I went to England to learn to write, because creative writing is all about going very slow, staying in the scene, almost remembering each heartbeat. Whereas in journalism, you get who, what, where, when, and why in the first 2 paragraphs, and if you go any further, you can't be cut. You know, so you get to the point right away. In this, it's almost a subconscious experience, so that the truths come very slowly, and then when you write it and the reader reads it, it comes slowly to them as well. But it's truths of the heart. It's a game of hearts and minds, I think, with writing.
And when you write it, yes, we spoke about the therapeutic aspect of it,
Yes.
right? But when you do you feel how that everybody is going to be now aware of your journey?
I don't care. Because, you know, I think my main thing was, when I was writing it, was that how do I connect to people? I think that all human beings we are made to connect, right? So there is a piece in the book right at the end of a breakdown that I actually had at one point, when things, you know, my mental health was very bad, and how did I come out of that? The reason I want to write about that is because I want people to know that nobody is alone, and that, you know, no matter how put together, look how, you know, amazing and put together you look, and, you know, I may look put together, but nobody is put together, and that we all need each other. And we all need, I think, what I learned with Derek Walcott, the Love the Dark Days part, is that out of even the worst experience, you can get a gem.
Yes.
Right? So he had written it in a poem called Dark August about his sister. I think she was dying, or she was unwell, and I think what he was saying is that all the sad experiences of my life, they're actually rich treasure, because you can get so much beauty out of them.
And you can definitely learn so much when you look back in retrospect. You know, they say hindsight is 20/20.
Well, there is that, but I actually do believe that I'm not saying that I'm wishing bad experiences on everyone, but I'm saying don't throw it away and don't say, oh, poor me. Look at it and see what treasure there is. I'll tell you a very quick story. My great-grandmother used to wear chiffon saris in the days of the Raj. And those chiffon saris used to have very tiny gold borders, right? They were actual gold. And she used to burn them, because, you know, chiffon gets messed up very easily. So she used to burn her saris once a year in the garden. So there was this ashes would come out of this burst of colors of saris. And then when the ashes went down and the fire died down, she would go in there and she would collect the gold from it.
Yeah.
So that to me is an emblem of what we should do. Out of ashes, we can collect the gold of our life. And that to me was what this book did for me.
And I hope it can do the same for all of us who get the opportunity to read it. Where can we get copies of it if people are interested?
Well, of course, you can get it on Amazon, and you can get it at paper-based, and it's at Nigel Khan, and it's, you know, in various shops, bookshops around the country.
Ira, let me thank you so very much for joining us this morning and for sharing the book with us. And congratulations yet again. Now that it's in India, I know that it's going to go even further than it has before. And I love the fact that you said it feels very much like from Tobago to the world.
Yes.
And I appreciate that very much. And I appreciate you joining us
so much.
this morning.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me.
Not a problem at all. Ladies and gentlemen, we take a quick break and we come back with more on the Now Morning Show. Stick around.
Says she coming home 'cause she must have to play.